one of their houses, but had no interest in the house. But they just started chatting, and all of a sudden chatted, and next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, well, let's talk about showing you some houses that you might like." And now they're buying a $500,000 or $600,000 house. But had he not picked up that phone, that person probably just moves on down the line.
Yeah, it was a sign call. Yeah,
It was
Jacob
Jake, then
was.
it wasn't. Yeah, sign call, right?
Yeah, and then he and Ryan have, yeah, and it's a like 750 or something. It's a big
Okay,
deal just from a sign
yeah,
call.
It's a banger. Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I
you
bet
got to
he's
pick up the
glad.
phone.
I
Yep.
bet he's glad he picked that up.
Heck yeah.
Yes, he did.
We put that together. We were actually we were in the office as you know what, if you're an agent, show up to the office, what happens? We started having a conversation. I'm like, hey, you got any horse buyers, for property? And he's like, you know what? I got a sign call on one. I'm like, I got one that's contingent still, it's soft. Come look at it. And he's like, all right. He did. Came back, took a second look, got with Todd. We got the terms worked out. We had a short kick out. We worked through that over the weekend. And then by Monday with sundown, man, we had it under contract. So we're full speed ahead. I think that's probably where he is right now, is at that septic inspection out there. So
Probably, yeah, yeah.
anyway, so that's how that went down. It was a contingency. So it was something that was under contract, but because he had a conversation with me, and it just, that's how it works. So just talk to enough people. There's Jake.
There we go. Look at this good looking guy.
That's that creeper at Roadhouse, isn't it?
Seen him before.
How's that inspection going? They started
Very
yet?
good. Yeah, very good. This one actually probably won't need to be replaced like every other septic inspection I do. So,
Hallelujah.
Hey, Jake, this is being recorded, just so you know, okay?
okay.
Yeah, septic's all good is what I heard.
Yeah.
But I took good care of it, maintenance it, so that's
Of
good to
course,
hear.
Rusty's like, "Hey, I hope the septic's complete crap."
And
I do and I don't. I always feel bad for people. I hate that for people. So
And even better news is the pond back here is fully stocked with a bunch of fish, and my buyer said I can fish on it. So this deal is going through.
Jake, I've got a grandfather clause on that pond back there, so just call me when we're going fishing, okay?
Deal.
Okay.
I love that. Well, I've had that happen too. Picking up your phone is very important. I had a call come in. I want to say it was about an 8:30 p.m. call, and really it ended up being a test. So had I not picked up that phone, I would not have had $1 million sale. This was last year, and it was literally up against me and his daughter, and whoever answered on a Friday night at 8:30 p.m. got the sale.
Wow.
Right? I'm sure glad I was a drink in too, by the way.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Well, I answered and I was like, yes, Dan. And he was like, I was just curious if you're gonna answer the phone. And he told me what was going on. And he goes, and now you get to list my property. So thank you for answering the phone on a Friday night.
Wow.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, I was very happy about that.
Yeah. Good
I
job.
just it just feels like lately there's been a lot less communication in the industry, and I just wanted to bring that up so that we as a whole here can be on top of the game, make better choices, and always try to answer that call. You might add to your voice message that, if you can't reach me, please send me a text message for a quicker response. I mean, just little tidbits like that will help you gain the trust of working with whomever you might be end up co-oping with.
Yeah, that class yesterday kind of, drove that home as well. It's like all the things that are coming into our world, whether it's AI and different technologies, really take us even further and further away from the one-on-one communication. And we're wanting to outsource that. We're wanting to send text and we're wanting to send email and anything but actually speaking to people. But we've got to get belly to belly more as an industry. You never know where a conversation is going to go. And we have especially some newer people in our office that just are bulletproof and they're just out there talking to people. And all of a sudden, conversations turn into potential leads and things are happening. And it's just like, I think there's a lesson to be learned there.
Agreed. The other piece of that was handling difficult people. There's a lot of scenarios where a lot of people, especially right now, dealing with maybe they can't make their house payments. They need to get their house sold. I feel like I've had probably about 2 or 3 phone calls on divorces. folks are, their kids are getting out of the house, they decided they're not wanting to be together, or you just have the random cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs people that you're having to deal with. That is something that we all need to be aware of on how to handle those things. And a lot of those can really be opportunities, even with the folks that are hard to handle. So if you can, actively listen, try to take in what they're trying to tell you, and see what you can do to help them get through whatever their current status is. I think that's what will separate us from all the other agencies around here as well. Do you guys have any examples of any cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs or hard to deal with folks that you're able to turn the tables around and help? Go ahead, Ryan.
I had one. We had a house we sold last year. There's a dead guy in it. At least part of him was still there. And we got it sold. And the guy that bought it was going to flip it. Well, he got in there, cleaned it up, and then he decided he didn't want to do that. He wanted to work on some other projects. So he called us back and said, "Hey, I want to sell this property." And I'm like, "Well, for the right fee, I'll sell it again for you." So that's what we did. We put it back on the market, and sure enough, I got phone calls, but the asking price was like 15 grand low, which is like 30% low on this property, by the way. It was like $45,000 property in Independence. And anyway, it was difficult, but had we not got on the phone, this agent and I that were co-oping together, we were able to bring this thing together and find that sweet spot that they'd be willing to pay for the property, and my seller would let it go for. And we're actually closing on it today at 2. We got a cash offer on it, and that we were a long way away, but they came up like a dozen of 1,000 and got in the ballpark. So we really put the deal together there. But it was because, Rusty, we got on the phone. We just kind of kept having that conversation instead of shooting these stupid text messages back. Nope. Those aren't going to work. That's not how you're going to negotiate. And I feel like that's what made the difference. So if I could say, I mean, again, it's just reaffirming what we heard yesterday, what we continue to hear in class, what we continue to hear in the training room, and reaffirming to myself, do this every day. Just pick up the phone and talk to people and see what we can work out and see how ask great questions while you're doing it.
Yeah, that's great. Asking and actively listening to those questions are huge because I don't think we're doing enough listening. We do a lot of chatting ourselves and needing to listen to what our clients are needing and all the things. But congratulations, that's huge.
I think that's a big thing that, I mean, we run into a lot. I mean, just with everything you guys have already said of how easy technology is to use, but it's taken the face-to-face away from things, and everybody also wants to cover their tail, so they want to put it in writing. But we do that a lot. It's just like pick up the phone, get it done, and then it's easy to just send a text or an email back saying, "Hey, just as a follow-up to our conversation, this is what we're doing." And then just put that out there. And I think that just recaps everything and still gets the same job done. But it's so much easier to make those negotiations, like Ryan said, in person and over the phone. And you can't hear inflections. I get that a lot with people. They think you're pissed off, but it's really just the way they're saying something in a text message and it gets misunderstood. So,
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking of that Key and Peele skit where he's like, "Yeah, I don't care where we eat for dinner." And then the wife freezes, she's like, "You don't care? What do you mean you don't care?" He goes, "Yeah, whatever, it's okay." Whatever. Like she's reading it all angry and he's all, I think that happens a lot in text.
it does. And we have a lot of how did the Benson sell up so much? No.
That's kind of
Right.
toward Lonnie right there. Bill Benson, like he'd smash all of us. Like he sold so much back in the day, and he was kind of wrapping up his career as I was coming in. He might have been out already, but still heard stories about him, and didn't have all the tools that we have now to make it so easy. iBoxes, emails, anything digital. They didn't use any of that stuff, and still sold, hundreds and hundreds of houses. And it's just like, how is that possible? But that guy was on the phone and in front of people all day, every day. And okay, it's like, okay, if we did some of those same things and used our technology, we might be half as good as him still, which would still be great, by the way, from what I hear. So just reaffirming that guy, he wasn't afraid to have a conversation with anybody. And I think we hide behind some of our technology because it's comfortable at times to try to get to the masses and see if something comes back to us.
Yeah, it's so easy, but yet it's almost a lost art, right?
Yeah, I think getting back to that in some fashion and would serve all of us well. Brandy's got her initiative that she's got going now, where people are lead generating and getting into more contact, direct contact with people. And I expect they'll, over time, nothing happens overnight, but I bet we'll start to see some movement from that group.
I'm glad that this is kind of piggybacking off of what you guys talked about yesterday. I assume that looked like everything went really well there and you guys gained a lot.
Yeah, it
What
was
was
great.
what was that fellow's name?
Cody
Cody
Gibson?
Gibson.
That's it. Yeah. Um, so for me, the next topic kind of leads into that with that communication is like, how to keep the deal together and make it to the closing table with that communication. I come from a project management, sales support role in my former life, in addition to many other things, but just setting the stage and the expectations up front. Just something as simple as understanding all the players in the game, and I send over a welcome email to everybody in the beginning of our project, and I include the title companies, the lenders, this buying or selling agent, whichever side I'm not on. I make for sure my transaction coordinators are involved as well as theirs, and just gives everybody a clear picture. So whenever they're working on 100 files in the middle of summer, they can reflect back and be like, oh yeah, that's who's with this. And then they can send out a mass email saying, hey, we need an update, or we clear to close, or whatever the case is. That's kind of how I handle that. Do you guys have a different approach to set the expectations and get the project kicked off in the beginning?
Rusty, we do a cover sheet. Stephanie sends that out, and well, it's like a welcome letter and email, and it's just like you said. It formats everything, who we're working with, who we're closing with, all the details, how to contact us, how to get the best service while we're working together. When you need something, this is who you're going to contact. And please refer to our multi-person text messages. Make sure both of us are on there. If you send something over, you're going to get a response that way. If you just text Ryan, he probably won't respond to it. So make sure that I'm included on that as well. It's like that's just really important because that's what happens. That's how things get missed, is when procedure isn't followed. So we try to set that up front, not of like, hey, we're mandating how to do it. What we're doing is just trying to educate them on how to best work with us so that we can help them and it'll be as smooth as possible. And I'm happy to get on the phone with anybody. However, there's a lot of details within a transaction administratively that need to be handled. And it's something that I don't want to deal with. And so we make sure that they understand who the player is on the team and that they'll get a quick response for that. So that's a great job from you as well. So as far as project management, this is how it goes. Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen your cover sheets before, and I need to adopt that. Just putting that on there from the get-go is huge too. I've always liked that. You guys have done that.
Steal it. Steal it. If you guys want one of those, just send us an offer. We'll co-op together and you'll have it. Okay. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. If you guys need it, I'm happy to share.
Jake should have one of those.
Jake should have a
Yeah,
several
I'll
of
send
those.
it to you guys.
Are you getting ready to jump on a swing?
Oh yeah, I'm on a porch, or a little tree swing thing here.
All right.
This property is awesome, especially now that I can fish on it.
See what that communication does? It creates opportunities and money in your
I was,
pocket.
I was gonna say I had one the other day. I was at the utility place in Harrisonville setting up utilities for one of my investors, and the guy beside me was talking to them, and his dad had just passed the day before. And so I was like, man, and he inherited a couple of properties. Like, man, I don't want to be that salesy guy that is taking advantage, like, all the doubts and the fears and stuff that you have. Like, it's too soon. I shouldn't say anything. All that kind of doubt came into my head. And he walked out of the utility. I'm like, gosh darn it. So I said, hold on one second. I ran out after him and just was trying to be an asset and said, hey, I've got contacts out here. If you need me to do anything, I'm out here all the time. And sure enough, he sold me his property that we're going to flip. And then he's looking for a house to sell. And then looking for a house to buy. And then he'll have another 2 houses to sell. So just off. And I was just going as a asked it. I said, hey, if you need any contractors or if you need me to go lock a door or something, because he was from out of town. He was about an hour drive from there. And so, but sure enough, I mean, I had the fear, which is funny because I don't get nervous talking to anybody. But I was like, that situation right there, I'm like, it's too soon. I don't want to talk to him and feel like I'm taking advantage. And sure enough, it turned into a one deal, potentially several. And he was very grateful for it.
That's
So
awesome.
I feel like that's a big lie that we tell ourselves all the time is, we don't want to sell anybody anything. But in reality, we're helping people. And usually if we're doing it correctly, they're thankful for us talking to them and reaching out to them versus feeling like we're trying to be sleazy salesmen.
Well, you're coming to the table with a value add, right? Like you're there for all the help and anything that they need. And then he took that and you prospered out of it.
Yeah. Potentially. We'll see if I'm making money on this one.
Well, I think this year we're going to have a very successful year, a very busy year. So, in addition to that communication, prepping all your documents, getting things, organized and ready for the, go season. I've noticed things already picking up. I'm getting more phone calls this year than my career so far.
That's great.
Yeah. So I think,
Rusty, do you think that attribute to what you did in Q4, like the phone calls you made and things like that? Do you think that's reciprocal? That's what's coming in now is from the work you did?
Yeah, planting those seeds. And it's for me, sometimes some of those seeds I planted a year and a half ago, even. The networking that I do, talking to people. I'm a out in the world person, talking to people all the time, even more than phone calls. But um, yeah, I believe so. But I just also think people have just waited, trying to see what's going to happen in our world right now. And I think people are done waiting, and I think they're getting ready to make some moves. Personally.
Well, that's in alignment with what we talked about yesterday with Cody Gibson. In his first hour, he did almost like a Gary Keller state of the industry speech with all the data and slides and all that. And I don't know, Brandy, if we have access to those, that'd be really neat to be able to share with our people. But at the end of the day, we only see with our local market, but nationally, we've had 3 really crap years in a row. Whether you call it a real estate recession or whatever. And now the projection is this year we bounce about 15% in sales, which isn't a massive bounce, but we still have a long way to go just to where we were from like 2015 to 2020. We're bouncing around 4 to 4.1 million in sales, nationally, and they're thinking 3 to 4.4. Well, that's a step in the right direction, but we were doing 5.5 and 5.4 and 5.8 just consistently in the 2015, 16, 17. You chat GPT and it'll show you all that. And so we've got a long way to go to get back to that. And then you take the fact that prices so far continue to go higher, albeit at a much slower pace. The commissionable dollars really can get exciting over the next few years. Our new agents that are just getting in, man, to get trained and engage as fast as possible, because we could go through a 3, 5, 7 year run that's historic. So it's pretty exciting. I wish I wasn't so old.
You're far from. I think I've also noticed this too, because I've had probably about in the last 30 days, 2 or 3 different developers reach out to us on the construction side of the world. That also is a key in telling me something that I think that we're getting ready to ramp up in these new builds. Because I'm sure Lonnie, Ryan, you guys probably have the data on this, but what's our number difference from the folks that need homes that are coming in, right? There's, I'm sure, some analytical data on that. Are we below the threshold on a number of homes that are built today versus what the projection is coming in with this new generation of needing homes?
Yeah, I mean, we're still way under supply. I mean, there's not enough supply of new homes, and obviously the national numbers never look that bad because you see the number of new construction that permits that are pulled. But then which looks like it may end at least temporarily, you had all these investors, national investors buying these new homes. So yeah, there was a bunch of 350 homes, but if they were being built for these investors, therefore they never get into the pool of the buyers. So the buyers are missing out. Then the buyers are competing with residential resale houses against national investors who are paying cash, which some, the sellers like cash deals. You can't blame them. So yeah, I mean the buyers have been in a bad position, and then affordability is climbing because prices are up and rates have been up. So mortgage rates going down would really, really be beneficial. They really think that Cody mentioned, I think it was middle part of 2027. So, we're still 18 months from when they think it's Katie bar the door, here we go. But, then just to see us move up a little bit and improve would be good. And the people in our office are doing really well anyway. So I'm just like, man, wouldn't it be nice for everybody to have a little bit of tailwind and really, really get some amazing movement.
Lonnie, I'm gonna cross check the metro area because what Cody was showing yesterday said new build starts were down a little bit last year, and the builders are frustrated. And he said some of your national builders, you can see what they're doing with like D.R. Horton. Like if you use their preferred bill or their preferred lender, they give you a credit. Well, we were in El Paso last weekend looking at some real estate and new construction specifically. They had the same thing. They were giving like a 2 or 3% credit to the buyer if you would buy their house. And if you use their lender, they would give you 3%. If you used another lender, they would give you 2%, but fees are built in with that other lender. So it's kind of a shell game, I believe, is how they're working it. But nevertheless, you're seeing these massive credits giving to buyers now to buy these new homes. So they're lagging, obviously they're not moving them as fast, so they've got to give these incentives. So I think as we move forward and we get to 2027 that summer, which I'm not wishing one day away either, enjoy every day for what it is, but when we get to summer of 27 and it does really start to spike back up again, I look for all those incentives and everything to go away again, and then we go back to possibly multiple offers. We don't know what it'll look like, but you'll see a lot of that go away, especially if interest rates come down. The faster those come down, which all accounts say that that's exactly what the administration wants this year. If that does happen, then you can see those things go away, which will play with affordability as well.
So if you don't have all your ducks in the row and we do have this spike and we start to see, all this business come in, which I believe we will, that's kind of the point of today's topics, is making for sure that you A, have your communication on point, B, you have all your ducks in the row with making sure that whomever you're going to be co-oping with is going to be able to have it right in front of their face and make it super simple and easy. And making for sure that you get to that closing table. If there's any hurdles that come up, pick up that phone and talk to the people, talk it out, because I've heard so many different people say, well, we argued over a refrigerator and we couldn't close the deal because the refrigerator, that scenario. I think actually having that sidebar with whomever that is, whether it's the buyer or seller, whoever you're representing, and just being like laying the facts out on the table and actually having that conversation and running through, if we're going to, not move forward on this deal over a refrigerator or even a $250 item, like what's it going to look like when we go and make an offer on a new property and it's just going to be like the grass isn't greener on the other side, right? You're going to have different issues, different people to deal with, so what can we do to solidify this and get to the closing table now? Does anyone have any examples that they've ever had to do and that's have to deal with in that scenario to get to the closing table, and what your success rate was to get through that? Not one person on this call.
Oh, I'm sure we've done it many times. I'm just trying to think of what maybe has happened in the last, year or two. And at the end of the day, we put so much time and energy into these deals. I honestly think that creating the solution to keep the deal together is the key, not throwing money at it. Very seldom do I ever throw any of my money to create a solution, because I feel like I'm usually on the seller side. I feel like in 9 times out of 10, we've got the seller a really good contract. We've usually exceeded their expectations. And I think we earn what we're supposed to earn at that point. And so if all of a sudden we have a surprise and, oh my gosh, the radon is going to have to be done and it's $850, I feel like we crushed it for them, and I have no problem with finding them the radon company and setting it up, but I'm not paying for it, and I'm not going to ask the other agent to pay for it. What's weird is when I run into these issues, the first thing the co-op agent always wants to do is get into commission debt to me. Well, you and I could split this, and I say, hold on. I think this can all work out, and you don't need to give up any money. And they just they're dumbfounded by that. And I'm like, no, let's solve the problem, but let's not financially be responsible for it. There's some exceptions to that, but for the most part, it can be done without us getting into our pocketbook.
I agree. And I think a lot of agents are really quick to go that route just to keep the deal together when everyone has done what they can and you've made it this far into the game. And I think it's a conversation too to have with that other agent of, hey, we've played by your rules, we've made it this far, we've given this much, like, what can you do on your end with your client to keep the deal together so we make it to the closing deal? And I think reiterating that throughout the process with these other agents of, keeping positive and let's get to the closing table, teamwork, using all those different words that keep them to where you guys are teammates and not opponents.
Yeah, yeah. The one you asked about an example, and it was about 18 months ago. We had a buyer on a deal, and the listing agent called us about 2 weeks before closing and says, hey, we got a problem. We're like, well, what is it? The furnace in the house went out, and it's not repairable and needs a new furnace. And whatever the dollar equivalent of a new furnace was then, let's call it $3,000 or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's a bummer. Sorry about that. And then they're like, well, my sellers are pretty upset, and I'm not sure where the deal is going to go from here. And I'm like, well, I'm sure where it's going to go. It's going to go to closing, just like it was scheduled to go. And they're like, yeah, but I mean, they're going to have to spend $3,000. I'm sorry, I can't control that. But let's go ahead and defer to the contract. The contract says that they're going to deliver the house, in the condition that we purchased it. And it's bad timing. It's a little bit of bad luck. But if they weren't selling their house, they'd be putting a new furnace in. So, that's just where we're at. But again, it immediately went to the conversation. Well, if I cut 0.5% and you cut 0.5%, some nonsense like that, like, no, time out. We're not doing that. Yeah, those things happen. Yeah, but if we get our people in good contracts, it's funny how things are a little easier to solve. When people are in contracts where they got crushed a little bit, it seems like it's a little more apt to have a bumpy finish if a problem arises in the deal.
Lonnie, and that's one of those things that we talk about at listing appointments specifically about the condition of the property, the age of the different systems and things like that. When's the last time you had that maintenance, any issues with any of your equipment? Do you want to put a warranty on the house? Like having those, which I usually don't as a seller, they usually maintain their home. But if, something, at least you offered that piece to them. And then when it does come down to it, we had a similar issue. We had an AC unit go out in July, and it was a week or 10 days before closing, and it was unfortunate for my seller. I hate that for them. But to the point, like if this buyer doesn't buy the house because you're not willing to fix that, how long are you going to live in that house without air conditioning? And who are you going to get to buy that thing without AC in it in July and August? Not going to happen. So it's part of it. And to go back to the contract, and you will maintain the property, and that's just the way it is. So it's unfortunate. So I just called buyer's agent like, hey, I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is the AC went out. Good news is your client's getting a brand new condenser, and they're like, okay, great. That's a good conversation for them, isn't it? And it's just a reality conversation you got to have with your client, but that's unfortunate how it goes, but hit it head on.
Where it can get a little sticky is when the agent calls and said, hey, here's what's happened. The AC unit is having some problems. There is a Band-Aid that we can spend on this thing for $700-800, or a new system's $2,500 for a new condenser, whatever. Obviously if the seller wants to do the Band-Aid because it's cheaper, but if you guys want to split it with us, then we'll put the new system in. Those conversations can get a little weird. Yeah, I would run into that quite a few times over the years too. But communication is, it's amazing. What's that?
Yeah. A Band-Aid and a warranty.
Yeah, right. I'm a little bit of an anti-warranty guy. I don't know how I got that way, but nonetheless, I've been that way. But I'm kind of slowly rethinking that, with these warranty companies truly letting us put them on listings with no obligation whatsoever, yet we have coverage on the seller side during the marketing process. That probably needs to be revisited, and I think that might be something we switch to here in the near term.
And I think that's kind of a read your client, read the room scenario. I think it should be suggested, and I too am going to implement that this year as well. But some of our clients have no issues and can afford a brand new AC unit, right? Not an issue at all. And then you have your other clients that are scrambling to get this home sold so they're not upside down and all the things, and maybe they don't have a dime left to their name, and the home warranty could save them $3,000 and $4,000
Yeah,
if an
yeah,
issue arises.
that's a great point.
One thing with warranties, well, two things. Just imagine how upset the seller is going to be with you if they find out that they could have opted in for a warranty and that probably would have covered their AC or whatever. I like the fact that our listings now make us check a box. That way it makes us have that discussion. Then they're not upset with us for when they have to replace their AC. And you can show, you can say, hey, remember, we talked about a warranty and you decided not to. The other thing I tell sellers is that if they put a warranty on their house and that AC goes out after closing, or furnace, or pick a thing, if they don't have a warranty, they're mad at the seller and they're calling their attorney, getting ready to sue. If they do have a warranty, they're calling the warranty company. So I think it's a great way to defer liability from us and the seller to have that warranty.
I agree. It's a great tool, and yet again, coming to the table with solutions, before we even have these problems that you can at least reflect back on and say, for lack of a better word, I already offered this to you. I told you so. Although we don't want to say that. I had one client over the summer, and this is just for something for you guys to keep in mind, because we think that folks just naturally maybe have common sense and think about these things. Um, During an inspection, my client wanted to turn down the AC to like 85, 87 in the middle of summer. So first of all, that's not welcoming when you're coming in to a home. I don't care what the price point is. If it's hot and miserable, you're going to have negative thoughts just automatically. And then they're in there adjusting it, trying to get the AC to confirm it works. And my client's on the other end with their app, bringing it down because they cannot afford for that bill to go up, is what their thought process is. So this is just an example of something I went through this summer and having to talk them off the ledge, and they did not understand why they had to mess with the air conditioning unit. So that was a bit of a challenge this summer to deal with. We did get through, we did end up getting to the closing table, but it took a lot to work of communication to work with the other agent, helping them understand what type of client I was dealing with. And if they could bear with me, we're going to get through this. The AC does in fact work. Please make another appointment if we have to go over there, whatever the case is. But that was an interesting thing. And it really did make me take a step back to think, okay, I really need to communicate the inspection process a little bit better and what the expectations of my seller needs to be.
Great point. Really good point. I was going to add to what Ryan put on there from what we were hearing yesterday is, everybody's like, well, real estate's been on a great run. Is it going to crash? All these things. And, those of us, there's a few of us on this call that have been through the last kind of crash, where we went through 5 years of just crap. Values went down about 25% across the board. Unprecedented, but it did happen. The difference is today, and Ryan posted it on there, right now the average homeowner has 37% equity in their house. So if they have a $400,000 house, they may owe on average 275. So there's a lot of wiggle room. If things get bad, they can sell the house and still come out smelling like a rose. And that's what was different in the crash. People had 5% equity in their house on average. So when values start pulling back, all of a sudden there's no equity. And that's where short sales came about and a ton of foreclosures. So there's that component that makes our real estate market right now quite healthy compared to previous markets we've been in. And then the second piece of that he talked about, I thought was really interesting, was there is more cash in banks right now that people have placed there than in the history of finance. So people have money. Now the question is, and this is where people would argue, yeah, but it's really the upper crust has the bulk of that money, and I'm not sure that hasn't always been the case, but nonetheless, that's probably valid. But on it, still, there's more cash on deposit with banks than ever in history. And also, that was not the case back during the last crash. People were not cash heavy as a whole. So we're in a different world right now. That's why I think if we get this real estate market running, we have the potential to see people do some amazing, amazing things in our business, And here a year ago, we were all worried about commissions changing, and oh my God, we're going to have to have buyer agency sign before we go out there, and commissions are going to, go down, and we're going to average 1% on each side. And right now, looking at where we were a year ago, we're almost unchanged. So that's I'm excited, man. Like I said, I wish I was younger.
You got a
Don't
long
we
life.
all?
We all got a long life to live, friends. Anything else on that topic of communication with keeping the deal together and getting to the closing table? Networking and partnerships. To me, that's a big topic for the year. Get out. Going to events like you guys did yesterday, whoever was able to go to that, collaborating with these other agents is huge. I think that also gets us to the closing table, because it sure is nice working with somebody on the other end that how what their work ethic is. They have the same goal to get you to that closing table, and you've just developed relationships. Getting ready to go to the KW family reunion and different things like that. Those are huge things that'll set you up for success, and definitely put those dollars in your pocket by talking to other agents. And I've said from past going out to family reunion, I've made so many connections that it's so nice to, and you feel like all of that has paid off whenever they're calling you and saying, "Hey, I have somebody moving to Kansas City. Would you meet them? Let's see if this is a good match, and will you help us out?" I mean, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, those things are just. When I came to KW, I wasn't a huge convention guy by any means, and some things about conventions still drive me crazy. But I learned very quickly to look at it completely differently, and I was always amazed by just the talent that was at those things. The busiest people in our industry are at those things, and you think, well, they're busy; they're not going to be able to carve out 3 days to go to Atlanta. Guess who's there? It's those people. They may be on their phone a little bit and closing deals, but nonetheless, they're able to do it. Yet we have agents that are selling 2 or 3 houses a year that just are so busy they can't go. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's you never know what you're going to come out of there with, and if you come out with nothing, that's usually on you. There's material there, the relationships you can build. If you just if you put yourself out there, usually you'll get some good things out of it. Within 1 or 2 family reunions and mega camps, I just completely changed. And I'm like, wow. And you almost feel kind of bad for the people that don't go. You're like, there's no way to tell them what they may have missed. And so I wish there was a way. It'll never be mandatory, but it would be so great if everybody had in their business plan to attend one of those things every year. It would serve them well.
It would. There's so many opportunities in those events that you can take from that. It's just a different avenue of revenue generation that you can provide for yourself just by going to those events. And it's, again, planting those seeds, and they may not come to fruition next month, but maybe a year or less, you'll start to see all of that pay off.
Yeah, and you see familiar faces, and all of a sudden you get kind of jazzed because somebody you really like is doing an afternoon class, and whether it be a Cody Gibson who's really dynamic. I saw Cody Gibson when he was just an agent on a team, and I knew him then, and Swagger got to know him, and different. And then as he built his business, and now he's this massive dynamic person involved in all kinds of stuff. So we saw his complete growth just go through the roof. Mark King went all the way to president of the company from being the team leader in Lee Summit, then the OP, to become president of Keller Williams, and just watch these people. And anything's possible, but you got to put yourself out there. Gene Rivers, if you haven't heard Gene Rivers, he's one of the funniest people in the world. It's like you got to at least be in one of Gene Rivers' classes in those things, because he's dynamic.
And if any,
Gene's like the George Carlin of real estate. I feel like Gene is he's hilarious and he's so direct with it, but he's like, when he says something, you're like, that makes absolute sense. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, check out Gene if you get a chance.
I love that comparison. That's awesome. So maintaining those relationships and then creating the business to business is another opportunity that I think we're not all taking advantage of. Reaching out to your local chambers outside of here as well, and going to talk to these businesses. It will pay off. You just have to get up out of your comfort zone and go have those conversations. That's on my to-do list this year. I'm trying to beat Ryan to the punch. It's all good
Hey,
fun.
one of the things we did, Rusty, is reach out to our vendors. Everybody has their preferred vendors that they send their clients to, and these vendors, they receive a lot of business from us generating that opportunity for them. And so one of the things that we hadn't taken advantage of that we are, and I want to recommend to you guys, is we actually put together a little like magazine deal. Don't worry about that part of it. The important part is to reach back out to them and thank them. And so we sent them that magazine, but you can send them a thank you and ask them to review you on Google reviews, and then upload that to your business page, which we learned yesterday, because that can't be seen, I guess, from certain areas, the way they upload it. But nevertheless, get reviews from your vendors. Like, they're the ones that are being supported by your clients, or calling them and you're recommending them. Like, how is that not awesome? Like, we love referrals. They got to love referrals. So get those other reviews in from your other 5 or 10 vendors that you work with throughout the year, and bump up your visibility on reviews.
Yeah, that Google presence can make or break you sometimes, and folks are always looking for reviews on you. So if that's not something that you've done to start this year off, I would encourage you and challenge you to get your Google business loaded, and start reaching out to folks like he just mentioned. That's an easy target to your vendors. I mean, they can go in there and make that any of your networking folks that you've done at any of these events. We've traded, those Google reviews. I've just simply reached out to them and asked them, hey, I'm trying to increase my reviews, all the things. Like, I'll also do the same thing for you. I mean, that's great. They're out of state folks and people. That's going to make your SEO even bigger for getting those out of state reviews.
I would also add to that, for our agents that, we have an amazingly large, by far the largest referral system that there is in the industry. And if you go to your profile and look at it, if you haven't put a picture on there, if you have nothing, you should put a description of what makes you excited about real estate. It is almost impossible for an agent from another city that doesn't know you to pick you as a referral partner. But if you put some good stuff out there and what your passions are and things like that, there's a lot of those calls that get made and referrals take place within our industry. So just like our agents will go, hey, does anybody know an agent in Alexandria, Virginia? And I'm like, it tells me they don't know how to use our referral system, which is right there in command. It's actually really fun to use. You go to this map and it shows all the market centers in that area. And then you look for Alexandria and you find that market center. And then you put in what kind of criteria you want. And by the way, when people ask that, my first question is, what kind of agent is a good fit for them? Is it going to be the guy or gal that sells 1 million houses, hair on fire? Or is it somebody maybe that runs at a little bit different pace? Is it a 55 and older that does well with 55 and olders? Is it somebody that might really enjoy a husband and wife team? That kind of thing. So ask the right questions. Then when you're out there kind of scouring those agents, you can start to put these preferences in, and it'll start narrowing that field. And then you'll get down to just a handful. And then you look at their picture, you look at their, hey, they were in bold 8 times. They were, on the ALC 5 times. Those are things I like personally. And then guess who my calls are going to go to? The 2 or 3 that I pick out of there. I'm going to phone interview them. And then basically we're going to do the referral. It's a little bit of work, but it's well worth it. I know David was telling me a week or 2 ago, he just did that for somebody down in Florida. And once you learn how to do that, it's actually quite easy and you get really good at it.
Heck, I've done that before. Here recently, somebody needed to get a home equity line on their house out in a different state, and none of my banks or none of their banks around here would do it. So I called our local Keller Williams and asked for a referral to one of their banks. They were able to help them out. So I didn't give them any business, but they were still willing to help me out. And same as we would do for others, I'm sure, just to find vendors outside.
All due to picking up that phone and communicating. So most of you, I've been in a septic conference for the past 2 weeks, both on the Kansas side and the Missouri side. So just while I had you guys available, I'm going to type in something here for you guys to jot down in your notes. So the Department of Natural Resources, DNR, their ultimate goal between that and the EPA is to protect our waterways. They have issued, and I thought I would let you all know, making sure I typed that in correctly, that especially in new subdivisions, you would think that this would be caught at the county level, but what is happening is it's not. And Department of Natural Resources is coming in and saying, oh, by the way, Mr. Seller, you just bought 3 acres and you're planning to build, but unfortunately, this site is not suitable for any wastewater management. So that is a huge thing that's going to be that's going to start being pressed. It's already been in effect. So this has been here forever, but they're really starting to crack down on that. So if you're working with a developer, things like that, again, the counties, cities, they're not always catching this. And it's going to be a sad day for your buyers if they have purchased this parcel and there is nothing that you can do about it.
Wow, that just turned into hunting ground.
I know. Bad deal.
Are you talking about floodplain areas specifically, Rusty, or what are we looking at as far as locations for why it wouldn't be suitable for runoff?
Yeah, because maybe the bedrock is so high that underneath there, there's not enough absorption for the area to be able to hold that. It's going to run down into our waterways. And in many cases, there's also no water getting there. So these people are drilling wells. Well, after that septic system is installed, it has nowhere else to go but down into your drinking water. And people, we're just not, no, a lot of people just aren't educated on that. And we just had learned that at that conference. And the biggest question we had as installers was, hey, why isn't this being caught at county level? And I couldn't get a lot of answers to that, but I think you being educated as I'm educated makes this office even more greater in knowledge and be able to help our buyers. So it's just one extra little shop that you can look at.
Rusty, wouldn't the developer be responsible for making sure that that land is usable?
Not if it made it through the county permitting process, no.
Okay.
Planning and development that should be something that has happened, but they gave many cases where they got it to the point of sold it, and DNR happened to find out about this and went in and shut it all down.
That's brutal.
Wow.
David, good question though, because it probably will push to the point, and we've looked at doing this, Rusty. We've actually talked about doing this very thing and doing morph tests on these developments ahead of time. We're reluctant to do so. One, they cost money, so obviously you're looking to maximize profit. But 2, we don't know where the buyers are going to want to build their home, so we don't know where their field is going to be necessarily. But in my opinion, if you're going to buy, let's say you're going to buy 100 acres, it might be worth a shot at just punching 2 or 3 holes at the minimum out there just to see what the table rock looks like or the bedrock looks like for drainage. And if you punch 2 or 3, I feel like you can disclose that we have checked. You can't check everywhere. I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to be possible. Would you be able to do that with like a perk test, Rusty, a
Well,
little bit more affordable, or would it need to be morphed?
from what I understand, you can just on that link I sent you, you should be able to go in there and put the parcel information in there, and they already, they have their maps that determine, and you can ask them at DNR before that property is purchased for, like you said, 100 acres, ensuring that you can actually put a wastewater system on it.
Awesome. Awesome. At County, they had something because we were working through Cottonwood, and we were needing the system replaced, and they wanted to do gravity fed, which 42 years ago is what they put in. We were of the opinion that it needed to be a low pressure system at this point. I spoke with County, and they took a look at their maps, and they were pretty sure, like, hey, well, everything I'm looking at, it's going to need to be low pressure. So we rolled the dice a little bit on, hey, whatever it needs is what you guys will install. We're good with that, on the pretense that we had about a 90% in our favor that it was going to be the low pressure. And sure enough, it did come back as that. So it sounded like the county had some insight. I'm wondering if they were using this site as well to back them up on
I
that
think
dirt
Cass
style
County's,
out there.
I think Cass County's pretty good, but I think where you're gonna have the bigger problems are these rural, where they don't have a lot of oversight out there in the wild, wild west down south, where you don't really have to pull permits, or at least you should at a state level. But yeah, it's out there. I don't think you're gonna see that so much here in like Cass County, for instance.
Good to go.
There's that. Okay. Anybody have anything else? I was gonna leave you with one thing.
I actually have something. It's more of like an opportunity, a couple opportunities. Want to invite everybody to join the focus group. I put that in there. I know you may not even know what the focus group is, but basically it's just several of us getting together to lead gen together, and we do it on Zoom. Meaning our cameras are on, our microphones are muted, and you see everybody on the screen just making calls. And it's actually a lot of fun. And I think we found our sweet spot. We're 2 weeks into this, about an hour. So if you carve out an hour of your Monday and your Thursday to hang out with us, it'll be starting right at 11. If you want the Zoom link, it's in the Facebook group, or text me, I'll get it to you. So don't sleep on that focus group. It's actually a lot of fun, believe it or not. I know that sounds weird, but Stacy, you're shaking your head. Caesar's now on it. I got Caesar lead generating. What are we doing here? But it's fun to do it together. Then this just happened yesterday. So I just put a graphic in the group that we have as an office here because of Paul Fife and his relationship with his former coach, Patrick Ferry. Patrick Ferry is no longer his coach because he got recruited to join MAPS Coaching and Keller Williams to be the AI coach and to drive online agent-based marketing, basically how to get clients using AI and online stuff. And so he has been recruited to join our national company, but he's wanting to work with a couple of offices to kind of practice his presentation. And so he has reached out to us. And so I thought that was a cool opportunity for our office. So that will be next Thursday. Again, check the Facebook group. Next Thursday at 11 a.m., right after this Sold Mastermind call. We're gonna do it it's a Zoom call, but we're gonna try to fill that room so he has a good group. And we're gonna take this free opportunity to learn AI and stay on top of that topic and not let it get away from us. So
Thank you.
couple
That's
cool
awesome,
opportunities
Brandy.
coming up. Yeah.
It was really cool. I don't know if you guys noticed Sandy Paxton. I don't know if you're on or still, but interesting facts is that you can be a lender with the NMLS with Color Home Loans and be a realtor and receive compensation on that end as well. I've heard of that. I've just not actually seen that happen yet.
Yeah, we learned that yesterday. We did.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty complex, honestly, to
Yeah.
do that. It is doable. But it's one of those things, definitely turn over all the rocks to be sure it's something that is a good fit. It could be a situation where people they're so successful at real estate, and all of a sudden they try to be lender too, and it takes away from the real estate business. And all of a sudden the net is you're not making any more money. You're just wearing two hats now.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
NMLS test is harder than the real estate exam. I've taken it.
yeah, they did say that you'll make more money selling real estate. So, but just something we learned yesterday.
Hey, it's a potential for multiple streams. I mean, look at all these people on the call that have multiple streams going on in their life and or are trying to build more. I think anything like that needs to be explored. Not all opportunities are the right opportunity for you, but it could be for somebody else. It's
Right.
but just to have these options available to us, I think is really, really exciting.
And what a great industry we are in, and be able to attend these things to learn these opportunities that, we have in front of us.
For sure. For sure.
Can I ask a very random off-topic question? Just short. Does anybody know what the appreciation rate would be for like a $70,000, $80,000 home in the urban core, Kansas City? So let's say 3 years from now, would you expect 3%, 5% appreciation on a property like that, or would it be a lot lower at that price point in the urban core?
I think I would probably just err on the side of caution of not trying to say urban core or any of that, but simply
Sorry,
the
yeah.
average real estate values in the metro have averaged, 4% appreciation over 40 years or what, and use that. At the end of the day, none of us know. I mean, we really
Okay.
don't. Whether it's in the inner core or if it's out in the suburbs or whatever, there's no right answer. So I would paint it with a much broader stroke.
Okay. But 4% is, well, I guess I need to look up what it is right now.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
go to ChatGPT.
That's
It'll
right.
say, what was the average
best
real estate
friend.
appreciation in the Kansas City metro over the last
Yeah.
whatever you plug in? There you go.
And
What is it in the ghetto?
Yeah.
It's being recorded, Jake.
Remember what Cody said? He
Uh,
said yesterday, are you going to be there for 7 or 8 years? Is this a 2 or 3 year investment, or is this a 7 or 8 year investment? And so ask better questions whenever you get a question to you. Dial the question up a little bit better so they have a better understanding how your response is specific to the question that you have created from their question, if that makes sense. That way, you just don't give them a jukebox, answer real quick. That's 4% every year, guaranteed. You don't know
Right.
that. Next year could be flat, could be 10% in 3 years in 1 year. We don't know. So that's kind of like saying, but you can bank on an average of about 4% over the history of time. That's what you could look at. But don't guarantee it. You can't guarantee that every year, year over year. It's over the course of time. So that's why that 7 or 8 years is needed to be able to get that average in there for you.
We have that cool graph we used in the Wealth Building Club that shows, I think it goes back to either 50 or 75 years, and it's the appreciation on a national scale. And it's green on the years that went up and red on the down. And there's only, I think, 7 years, over 70 years that it went down. So that's always a good graph to share with people as well.
Thank you.
And 5 of those 7 were 08.
Yeah. Yeah, there were 5 of them were in a row. Yeah, I was there. Yep.
So it's 11:01. I'm going to leave you guys with this. I'm a big manifester. We'll make for sure that, this year is going to be super successful for all of us. In 2026, it's the year of the horse. This year urges us to trust our own strength, take risk, and chase what truly matters. Opportunities will appear quickly, relationships will deepen, and life will feel alive with possibility. This is a year to act with courage, embrace freedom, and follow your instincts without hesitation. Monument leads the way, and every step forward brings growth, clarity, and the chance to fully become yourself.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Let's go out, kick some ass, and take some names, friends.
Let's go.
Great call, Rusty. Thank you.
Thanks, Rusty.
Thanks, Rusty. It was great. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
It's $1 in the jar, Rusty.
On it.
This is being recorded.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.